All right, everybody give it up for Blair Crimmins and the Hookers here. I'm sitting here with Blair. It's nice to meet you tonight, man.
Nice to meet you.
It's nice to have you in here. You know, this is a real treat for us because it's not, you know, being a kind of a small, you know, more or less a honky-tonk in Georgetown, Kentucky. We don't get a lot of 20s swing bands in here, so
no, it's not the standard here at the Tipsy Cow. Yeah, all right.
But this has been really fun. And a lot of times we ask a couple of, you know, pretty basic questions, but you've got a really interesting story, and our producer Warren was telling me a little bit of the background of how you got into this, how you got into playing this genre of music. It goes back many years, and I really wanted to hear more of that story from you, and just how that all happened, going back to, you know, how you originally started getting into
Okay. There was a physical trauma that happened at some point in my past. I studied jazz in high school and then in college, and then afterwards I got disenchanted with it, and because it was all instrumental jazz, you know, straight ahead stuff, and I got into rock bands, and I was playing rock music for over a decade around clubs and stuff in Atlanta, and I was a long-haired rocker with an electric guitar. One night after drinking how many beers I don't know and going to a festival, I came back and I decided to take my dog on a walk in a very unusual way. I hopped on a skateboard and I let my 70-pound pit bull pull me through the parking lot. And I barely remember that, and I woke up 3 days later in the hospital with a massive head injury. Okay. And had some cognitive impairment, and I lost my sense of smell completely, which I know is like a Dewey Cox thing, but it really happens when you hit your head. Yeah. I lost my sense of smell. Yeah. It came back eventually, but I felt very, very strange and out of place in my own skin, and I was no longer interested in the kind of music that I was making before, and the doctors told me to help with my cognition and getting my over my concussion and my traumatic brain injury, that a lot of people recover by playing piano as well as doing crossword puzzles and stuff. I never played much piano before, but I sat down at the piano and I wrote a couple of the songs that were the first songs to become this band. I started pulling out I found a ukulele and I wrote a song on that, and I started writing all these songs that were totally different than anything I'd done before, and brought them back to the rock band. It was like, hey, can we play this? And it just wasn't working with them. So I knew at that point I had to start a whole new project, and I just became deeply fascinated with the early traditional jazz styles of the 20s and 30s, early swing and New Orleans jazz, and it never looked back.
That's crazy. I mean, it's, you know, I'm a little bit of a long-haired rocker myself,
yeah,
so it's not bad to be, you know.
I still like rock. I mean, I like listening to it. I just don't want to play it. You know?
Yeah, but hey, listen, we're glad that you're doing this, because this is fantastic. And the thing I like about it is you're creating new music in that genre, which is, you know, it's not typical. You know, what's the process that goes into that? You know, a lot of people are playing. You know, they might play this type of music, but they're playing the old stuff. They're playing the oldies, the things that people know. What's the process like? Do you sit down at a piano and write, or you jam on guitar? Or do you just...
It could start out on a piano and then end up on a guitar, or start out on a banjo and end up on piano. It's just that this style of music excites me to such a degree that I feel like it's the music that I want to party to in 2022.
Yeah.
So I think of it as being, I have something new that I want to write about, just in an old style.
That's really cool. So you're multi-instrumentalist. You play guitar. You play banjo. Any others that you kind of tool around on that you've thought about bringing to the band?
I fiddle with the piano mostly for writing. I'm a terrible accordionist. If a gentleman never plays the accordion, from what I hear.
Right. Yeah.
And ukulele, and that's about it. Mostly stringed instruments, and I try and write as best as I can for these guys to play melodies on the horns, but they make them sound way better than I could ever imagine. You know.
Yeah. Well, it's a really treat to have you in here. We're really, the crowd's really enjoying your music tonight. You gave us all the correct answers, so that's really all we asked for.
Right.
So, thank you very much for being here.
Thanks for the right questions.
Ladies and gentlemen, Blair Crimmins. We're going to hear some more from Blair Crimmins and the Hookers in just a second here. You guys ready to rock out a little more?
Let's do it.
All right, let's go.